Welcome to the Rotary Club of Tulsa. I can already tell it's going to be a rowdy day, which is great, right? All this energy. So let's get started and begin our program with Invocation and Pledge from Matthew Bristow and our national anthem led by Lydia Gray with the Tulsa Opera, and then guest introductions from Barney James.
So I'm going to start with a public service announcement. I joined Rotary in 2009 with perfect eyesight, and I've avoided going to see any eye doctors since, but I'm now on font size 18. I'm not saying Rotary caused it, but it's a coincidence. Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many blessings we enjoy in this nation, in our community, and in our Rotary family. We thank you for the meal and for the service of those who prepared it. We pray for those in our country, our state, and our city who are suffering and in need. At this time, we ask you to be with the leaders of the world in conflict and strife. Grant them grace to come together, to find compromise and solutions, to create peace and safety for all those affected by the worsening conflicts in the world. We pray for open hearts, open minds on all sides, to consider each other's perspectives. We pray for a softening of hearts and reconciliation for everyone involved in this struggle. Help us each to use our gifts to intercede and help others through Rotary, through our work, through friends and families. We ask that you help us better understand one another, to live lives with respect for one another, and to abide in peace. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in singing the national anthem.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets fell, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled
Welcome to Rotary Club 2500 in District 6110. We are the largest club in the largest district of Rotary, which means we're kind of a big deal. So welcome today. I would like to introduce, in order to save time for the program, let's do this in an expeditious way. Can I ask all of Duff Waddles, the Rotary Exchange guest, all to stand up at once, and let's acknowledge these guests. Now, because you're special, I'd like to point out that in that group is former members Kay Bridger Riley. It's good to see a familiar face, and Catherine DeCamp. Welcome back. You're welcome anytime. No. I goofed up last time. This time I've got it. I don't need your help. All right, okay. Our guests today are Scott Philstrup's guest, or as I like to refer to him as Mr. Philstrup. Lori Decker-Wright, will you please stand? And Aaron Beck. Let's have a round of applause for our guests. Now, our visiting Rotarians. And when I introduce their name, you guys all at once give a big hi. Okay, you can know the drill. From the Sand Springs Club, please welcome Harlan Pinkerton. And from the North Tulsa Club, please welcome Trish Kirkstra. You guys are awesome. Thank you.
You are a raucous group today. Goodness, I get spring fever, right? All right. It is with profound sadness that we announce the passing of longtime Rotarian Bob Wyrith. Bob was a member of our club for 36 years. He was a Paul Harris Fellow, a Club Foundation Fellow, and a Rotary Men of Note. Services will be held on Saturday, April the 20th, 2024 at 11 a.m. at the Fitzgerald Southwood Colonial Chapel near 91st and Harvard. In lieu of flowers, donations can be made to the Rotary Club of Tulsa Foundation and the Kansas State Farmhouse Fraternity. Bob's memory will forever resonate in the hearts of those who knew him and loved him. He will be dearly missed by his Rotary friends. I want to say a big thank you to all who came out last night to our Rotary Ladies Social. We had a fantastic time. I see some heads nodding in this room. We did behave, mostly. But, we had a chance to visit with each other. We met new friends, non-Rotarians that we hope will soon be Rotarians. People from other clubs joined us, and we even let the few men that showed up hang out in the same room with us. And I think they had a good time. I think, honestly, this is probably one of the best events we've had this year. It was a small but mighty group. I think we had about 17, 18, and it was so much fun just to sit and visit. So keep in mind that we're going to have these again, and you'll definitely want to be there. So thanks to all who attended. And a shout out here. If you read your district newsletter, and I won't ask you to raise your hand and tell me that you do, that comes out every Tuesday from our district governor, Pam Crawford, you'll notice that she puts trivia questions in there each week. And those who participate in those trivia questions will be put in a drawing to win a Paul Harris Fellowship from donated points from Pam and a few others in the district. But what you may not know is that one of our own club members has faithfully participated in that trivia each and every week. So Rachel Richardson, if you would please stand up, I want us all to say thank you for faithfully representing our club with the district. Very good. And now, more excitement. Please welcome Duff Weddle for a special presentation.
Thank you, President Tiffany. Principal Rotary mission is the promotion and furtherance of international goodwill, mutual understanding, and world peace. The Youth Exchange Program is a component which supports this mission. We refer to our Youth Exchange students as Rotary Ambassadors because not unlike career Foreign Service officers, Rotary Youth Exchange students become diplomats, proudly representing their country while living abroad, while at the same time learning about and absorbing the culture and views of their host country. They will return to their home country fully bicultural and will possess at least a conversational capability of the language of their host country. Our Department of State fully recognizes the importance of our program, and they consider it, along with other exchange programs, as a key component of soft power as a public policy objective in the context of international diplomacy and foreign relations. Bailyn Portugal Martin was our exchange student for 2015-2016, and after returning to her native Spain, she has had a remarkable academic career at multiple European universities and was awarded a fellowship to return to the USA this academic year and teach Spanish language and literature at a high school in the Boston metro area. And she is here today to share with us a few highlights of her exciting journey over these past few years. Since we've had several new members since 2016, I thought perhaps the best way to introduce Bailyn as a person is to read to you an extract I posted to her Facebook page at the time of her departure. You arrived from Spain on a hot August night and after a long journey, and in spite of your fatigue, you greeted us with your warm and engaging smile. And it wasn't long after your arrival until we learned of your mantra: if your dreams don't scare you, then they aren't big enough. And we observed your undaunted courage and quest for life's experiences and your desire to achieve the maximum from your Rotary exchange opportunity. And we watched you grow and mature and develop the confidence to undertake any challenge which life might present to you. We extend our heartfelt wishes to you for your continued success and achievements. And we believe that your adios to America is but a temporary refrain, and look forward to our joyful reunion together. And fellow Rotarians, that day is today. Bailyn has returned to visit us, and she'll provide us a few slides of her exciting journey over the past few years.
Thank you. Thank you, Dab. Hello, everyone. Before I begin, I'd like to thank everyone for having me here today. President Tiffany, thank you for inviting me back to Tulsa. I'm so happy to rendezvous again with my host family's friends and Rotarians. Thanks to Gary University and Bishop Kelly High School for providing me a wonderful academic and cultural experience through my exchange year. So here's my story. I've been told to prepare a short presentation of what my life has been after living in the States for a year. But first, I wanted to share with you guys some pictures of what my exchange was in 2015, 2016. Well, this is one of the last days that I was here when President Jeff interviewed me. That was a lot easier than giving a presentation today. So these are some of my host families when I arrived. My Rotary exchange is something that I still have very present in my life and something that still defines me. Sorry guys, I'm a bit nervous. It's been such a long time. It's been 8 years since I was here. My exchange in Tulsa couldn't have been any better. I spent here 350 days, so I definitely made the most of it. You guys took me all over the place. I got to see so many things. I got to meet so many people, so many foreign students, and I'm very thankful for that. I even got to travel around the States for a month. So my host families, as I said, were great, and I just couldn't have asked for more. When I went back to Spain, I wanted to keep involved in Rotary Youth Exchange because, as I said, I was very grateful. So I did, and for 3 years, I became a Rotex, and I participated in the inbound and outbound orientations for Rotary Spain. I enjoyed those weekends so much because I could still feel that I was an exchange student. So I studied my 11th grade here in Bishop Kelly High School, which I loved, and I learned so much from that place. So after that, I went back to Spain and finished high school. After having lived abroad for a year, finishing high school was not a big deal. Yeah. So these are also some of the Euro trips that I've participated in with Rotary Youth exchange students. After that, I started college, which I knew that I wanted to, in my hometown, in Zaragoza. I studied in the University of Zaragoza. And after 3 years, I knew that I wanted to live abroad once more. So I decided to go on Erasmus, and I studied for a year in the Czech Republic. No, I did not learn Czech, I wish. But I did learn many other life skills that you acquire when you live abroad. I'm very thankful for that. And I met so many people, and foreign people too, and made friendships that I still keep up to this date. In fact, last week, one of my Turkish friends got married, and she invited me to the wedding. So I just came back from Turkey, and it was very interesting to participate in a wedding like that. I'll definitely won't forget that. So I graduated from college, and by then I already knew that I wanted to specialize in the field of education, more specifically in foreign language learning and foreign language teaching. So I started a master's degree in secondary education. That was almost 3 years ago. This is a picture of the graduation day. And last year, I worked as a teacher in a high school, which I loved. I'm very happy with the path that I chosen. I really love teaching. I really love being in the language classroom because I think it's a very special classroom. And yeah, that's what I did last year. But even though I loved it and that's what I want to do, I had a feeling that I wanted to live abroad once more. I know, my parents were not so happy about that, but oh well. So I researched a little bit and found out a way to come back to the States once more, because, I loved it when I was here. So I did, and I applied for a program, and now I'm living in Massachusetts. As Dave said, I'm working at a public school, working with the Spanish department in middle and high school, and they have a Spanish immersion program, so I work with that. That's what I'm here for. It's just for 8 months. I'm leaving in a few weeks, but my goal has been accomplished. I came here because I wanted to live this culture again. I wanted to improve my English, and I wanted to have the experience abroad once more, because I feel if you're an English teacher, you gotta live abroad. What are you gonna tell the students otherwise? So, yeah, I'm very happy that I've got to explore this beautiful country again, because, I don't know, I think it's my favorite place on earth. So, I've talked to you about my past, I've talked to you about my present, and I would love to tell you guys about my future, what my future holds, but I'm not so sure about it. It doesn't concern me, though, because I know that everything's going to be all right. What I do know is that all this adventure began 8 years ago when I applied to be a Rotary exchange student, and I got accepted and got an email saying that a host family was waiting for me in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I still remember that day, I promise. So the decisions that I've made, the paths I've taken, and the fact that I've always wanted to keep exploring, learning, and meeting new people, it all started here. It's all thanks to the Rotary Youth Exchange Program. I wouldn't have been the same if I hadn't been a Rotary Exchange student. So my exchange is something that I still hold very dear in my life, something that changed me for the better forever. I came as a 16-year-old innocent girl and discovered that the world is too big and full of people to stay at home all the time. So I started this presentation giving thanks, and I'd like to finish it by giving thanks again, because Rotary Youth Exchange left a mark on me that will last forever. So in closing, as a world traveler, international student, and teacher, let me emphasize how important Rotary has meant to me and the positive effects I see of Rotary's contributions and influence around the world. So please, young Rotarians in Tulsa, you are the future. Make a pledge and commitment to become engaged in and volunteer for your club's projects, which will make a huge difference in your community and around the world. Muchas gracias.
Baylin, thank you. Our Rotarian of the day is Scott Philstrip. Scott is a third-generation Rotarian who joined our Rotary Club in 1995. He has served on the Board of Junior Achievement since 1976 and the Tulsa Opera since 1993. In Scott's career, he was past presidents of the Tulsa Opera, Tulsa Economics Club, the American Marketing Association, the Summit Club, and the Williams Management Association. Scott is president of the Consultants Limited and has served on over 15 corporate boards and continues to be an advisor to energy, healthcare, sports, and medical device companies. A high priority of Scott is support of utilizing the trained voices of health, wellness, and longevity. The Songs by Heart program in Tulsa serves Rotarians and Oklahomans in over 12 retirement centers who are challenged with Alzheimer's, dementia, and memory issues. Scott and his wife Margie have expanded the Philstrip Resident Artist for Tulsa Opera in order to enhance music education for schools and also the Songs by Heart program to seniors. Please welcome our Rotarian of the Day, Scott Philstrip.
Good afternoon. I want to share with you the history, the amazing dynamic history of opera in Tulsa. Do you realize that before we had paved streets, and some people say sewers, we had opera in Tulsa? So today we're going to hear the dynamic history of this, and we're going to hear my slides, but beyond that we're going to hear the wonderful voice to kind of amplify the power of opera. A Rotarian, when we went to the Historical Society, Danny Keogh gave an amazing presentation. We're going to condense it today, but you're going to hear many of the highlights. So let's hear the amazing history of opera in Tulsa, presenting Danny Keogh, who is COO of Tulsa Opera, a native of Michigan, and a longtime expert and professional. Danny, take it away.
Thanks. I'm so excited to be here. That was such a great, warm introduction. And I have to say, 2 decades working in the performing arts, I have literally moved coast to coast, and now a couple of places in between. So if you need an expert in packing up a life and moving it across the country, you can call me. But that adventure has landed me in Tulsa twice. And the second time I was invited back to Tulsa, I intentionally put on the pros side to moving here because of the arts and culture in this city. It is phenomenal. And I get to work alongside some of those amazingly talented people. So with us today from Tulsa Opera is our new General Director and CEO, Lori Dector-Wright. And Artistic Director, Aaron Beck. And I have with us 2 of the 12 Philstrip resident artists in our program. On the piano today, we'll have Kisan Drozdov. And, yes. And we're going to kick off my presentation with actually an aria from soprano Lydia Gray, Quando Menvo. arts and culture scene in Tulsa is so vibrant, and the legend of the arts is integral to the city's history and the greatness. So I didn't live here long before I heard the legend that we had opera in town before the streets were paved. And before that historical society presentation, I went on a dig to find out, okay, who said that and when? And it was said by L.J. Martin, the founder of the Commercial Club that later became the Tulsa Chamber of Commerce. What he said was, we didn't have sewers, street paving, parks or sidewalks, and not much of a water system. But these facilities were luxuries that could wait, whereas an opera house loomed as an immediate necessity. I would like to have met this man because he went on to be instrumental in raising the money to build a real grand opera house in Tulsa, and Convention Hall opened in 1914. This venue, which has been known by many names over the course of its history, has hosted many opera greats, including Enrico Caruso. And this man could be considered the first worldwide superstar. He had, let's say, the first platinum record, but it was actually a gramophone, and he did tour worldwide. The legend is that he caught pneumonia in between the Constantine Theater in Pawhuska, traveling down to Convention Hall, and that he caught pneumonia and later died from that. So his ghost is said to be haunting both buildings. During the Great Depression, Tulsa remained committed to the arts scene, and a Starlight concert series started by city leaders and families connected to the oil industry. These concerts were performed at Skelly Field at the University of Tulsa, even though it was just 3 years old at the time. It was just the community banding together, and instead of having these musicians use their fingers that were trained for the frets of a violin to dig the ditches of the WPA work, our families and our businesses in the town paid for them to do what they were trained to do and play music. And the benefit concert series was to continue, but the idea kept growing. And this turned into the idea of doing an opera. And that led to doing Aida, because Aida was known for its world premiere as an outdoor performance. Now, Aida is no small opera. I mean, are there really any small operas? But it's 1933, and nearly every Tulsan connected to music was asked to participate in staging this grand opera. When I read the list of names of who participated, we have Richard Mansfield Dickens, the director of Tulsa Little Theater, to design the scenery, Albert Lucan, dean of TU School of Music, as the assistant conductor, and Patty Wilson as the rehearsal accompanist. These names are still around town, and they come up in the playbills for decades to come. It really took a village to put on this whole opera, and families signed on together to participate. The church choristers and music teachers were singing alongside Central High School's premier a cappella chorus. Act Two's triumphal parade scene would feature the marching band from Charles Page High School. The drama editor of the Tulsa World, Faith Hieronymus, wrote about the groups scattered on the grass backstage during the rehearsal process. Cast members would come out to Skelly Field even when they were not scheduled to practice. They would bring their families with them, and they could eat al fresco while listening to some of the world's greatest music. And then they erected the band shell to stage within this as a proscenium, and they needed a curtain. They needed a curtain because Aida has 7 scene changes. So in a gesture of civic solidarity, the Tulsa Board of Education agreed that they would lend the blue velvet curtain, the pride of Central High School South Auditorium, to be a part of the Aida production. Nothing short of a grand opera could wrest this blue curtain away from the school. So AIDA was set to open on Thursday, July 13th, 1933, and then would have a second show on Saturday. This night off in between performances is custom for opera. And then, remember, it's 1933, there's no Weather Channel, there's no severe weather warnings in those days, but we did have a couple of men out on an oil field that saw the dark clouds form into a storm heading straight towards Tulsa with heavy rain and wind. So by 1 p.m. on Thursday, the decision was made to cancel that night's performance and to honor those tickets on Friday. But whew, there was a lot to get ready for, because can you imagine what a storm can do to a theatrical set outside? Much of the scenery had disintegrated in the rain and wind, and some had blown straight across 11th Street. But of course it's Tulsa, and everyone rallied. 5 volunteers from the sketch club worked through the night and all the next day to paint what scenery could be scraped back together. The Stagehands Union retrieved the blue velvet curtain and rehung it, smoothed out the wrinkles, and got it ready for that production. That would have scene changes in it. And then for the climactic scene of the mezzo-soprano singing as the jealous princess of Egypt, she would do so that night without the platform from which to condemn her prisoners. She agreed to perform on top of a ladder masked only with black fabric, even though she was 7 months pregnant. So not one Tulsan gave up, and that Friday night, AIDA performed for a full house in Skelly Stadium. The attendance of 6,000 guests is still the record for any one opera performance in Tulsa. Ben G. Henneke wrote a wonderful editorial in the Tulsa World in 2007 about this 1933 AIDA. He wrote, "Oklahoma's first outdoor opera is a tale of bravery, natural disaster, and triumph. But more important, it is the story of the Tulsa community drawing together for the common good." In the early 20th century, opera had a tenacious and ambitious beginning in Tulsa, but it really took root in 1948 when Ralph Sassano, a successful opera singer in New York, married a Tulsa native, Ione. She had moved to New York to start her own career, but they were visiting in Tulsa, and friends convinced them that, gosh, wouldn't Tulsa just make the greatest place for an opera company? So what started as a conversation on a hot day in August, actually at the newer open Philbrook Museum, became the first production of what would become Tulsa Opera. La Traviata opened at Central High School on December 4th, 1948, and the Tulsa Opera Club incorporated that same week. For just $1.50, Tulsans saw a cast of all local performers, including Ralph and Ione Sassone, and they're in the leading roles. And then also, William Lewis was a high school student at Will Rogers at the time. And not 10 years later from this La Traviata performance, Will Lewis debuted at the Metropolitan Opera in New York. I know, it's so cool. Tulsa merchants were involved in getting the set and props together, and the costumes were organized and the makeup was organized all by Mrs. Sassone too. This performance was in contemporary dress to keep it a little bit simpler. In the audience that night, Mrs. Maud Lorton Myers was there, and she was among the patrons who went backstage to congratulate the performers. And that very night, she offered a $1,000 donation for the remount of La Traviata that happened the following May. So in reading an early 1950s program, I found their mission statement at the time. In 1950 and 1951, Tulsa Opera presented 6 operas in Convention Hall with the addition of Broadway stars to each production. From a cast of 40 to a cast of 90, from a staff of 6 to a staff of 25, and an administrative committee of 150 volunteers, Tulsa Opera is accomplishing its threefold purpose: to provide opportunity for performance to young talent, to award scholarships to worthy talent unable to study, and also to furnish high-type entertainment for the community. With Mrs. Lorton instilled on the board as a patron of art, she gathered all of this community support for the young company, and in 1953, the company presented Puccini's Madame Butterfly, moving Tulsa Opera squarely into the stage of national prominence, and the company became a model for similar-sized towns in our country. For the first time with that Madame Butterfly production, major stars were imported to perform all the principal roles, and we also brought in a stage director from New York. In the early 1960s, the Guild of Tulsa Opera established a children's opera workshop, bringing the world of opera to younger audiences. And this was the beginning of Tulsa Opera's education activity, which is a cornerstone of our mission today. In 1962, taking advantage of a prolonged strike at the Metropolitan Opera in New York, Tulsa Opera's production of The Barber of Seville brought together 5 Met stars. And in 1966, Levin Soul made his debut as chorus master with Puccini's Turandot. And this is a position he would hold until 1994. So with an aria from Turandot, we're going to bring Lydia back up here to hear that. Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna, in the 80s, 90s, and into the 21st century, Tulsa Opera is great. We have a very long history, but I want to get to the recent history that we've made, so I'll have to come back sometime. Okay. Tulsa in the opera in the pandemic. So, on track to hit record-breaking ticket sales for this season, Tulsa Opera closed Madame Butterfly, and then the world shut down in March of 2020. The company stretched their creative muscles, just like performing arts organizations did all over the globe. Staying Alive became a YouTube series recorded by opera singers who had been contracted to perform during the remaining part of our season. They were singing alone in their apartments, with pianists zoomed in from the other side of the country to accompany them. And outdoor pop-up concerts started. A new community event, Aria Yoga, started then, and it's been held seasonally now on the riverfront. But the big jewel in our crown was baseball Rigoletto at One Oak Field in October of 2020. Yeah, thank you. And I was newly on staff, so I have firsthand history and some good stories. This was the first live performance of opera since the shutdown, and the opera played to a socially distant crowd on a beautiful fall evening, taking the Duke of Mantua to the baseball diamond. The event was heralded on many lists for the best events in 2020 and best pandemic pivots. The production utilized the Jumbotron, projecting live video from the field and projecting the super titles there. The sound equipment and setup was innovative, overcoming delays that happen in carrying sound over a distance. The local company, Axiom Audio, was featured in many industry trade magazines about their work on baseball Rigoletto. And we cannot forget the tireless work of the crew and our staff to keep the artists and technicians safe before there was effective treatment and before there were vaccines. The company then went on to produce Greenwood Overcomes in the May of 2021, and this concert featured works exclusively by living Black composers, including 4 newly commissioned pieces commemorating the 100-year anniversary of the Tulsa Race Massacre. And then we returned to the ballpark in the fall of 2021 with Puccini and Verdi play ball. The night would start with famous arias performed from the works of Puccini and Verdi, and then the family one-act opera, Johnny Schicchi, would anchor the night. I have to say, the weather in 2020 was great. 2021, it did not burn. And I feel very deeply connected to the people who worked on the 1933 Aida. So with these lessons about sound and safety under our belt from Rigoletto, the production team really focused on developing a weather contingency plan. This was something I saw up close because my husband was the director of production at the time. And I know there were plans A, B, and C that I kind of understood, but I'm pretty sure it went through the alphabet a lot further. So here's the thing. If it's too hot or too cold, different instruments can't play. If the wind is out, we know we can't be out when it reaches a certain high level. And of course, there's going to be rain. So one thing we did safety-wise during the pandemic to keep people more safe was just shorten our footprint, which means we rehearsed in a lot less time. So typically our operas take 4 weeks of rehearsal. We start staging in a hall with a piano and then for 3 weeks, and then 1 week we're in the theater with all of the technical stuff, the scenery, the costumes, the orchestra, all coming together. We are pretty sure in our memory that we did Puccini and Verdi play ball in 5 days. Barely, because the weather didn't cooperate, and there were rehearsals that were canceled during those 5 days because of rain, and nobody was happy about it except maybe me, because I was a part of the crew that got to cover the field with the tarp. And I'm a baseball fan, so that was really exciting. Here's the real inside scoop if you saw Puccini and Verdi play ball. That opera that you saw that night, that was the first time we put it together that way. It had not been rehearsed from top to bottom, but it was performed that way on a very cold and almost rainy, but not rainy night in 2021. We did it still. So we're tenacious, just like the historical Tulsans putting on opera. Change in plans. We're not doing that. Okay. So Tulsa Opera is deeply connected to our roots from the Tulsa Opera Club and from the early 20th century. We are still inspiring to enrich, educate, and entertain Tulsa through opera, and our community engagement programs have grown significantly in the past 5 years. The Philstrip resident artists, 2 of whom you've heard today, are the backbone of our engagement activities. Each season, Tulsa Opera engages up-and-coming opera artists, and they become members of the Philstrip Resident Artist Program, gaining valuable performance experience and training. And this renowned program boasts well-known alumni now singing all over the world. In fact, just last night, an alum of the program, tenor David Portillo, who's a singer from the Metropolitan Opera in New York, came back to Tulsa to sing at the opera's President's Council dinner at Southern Hills, where we honored Scott and Margie Philstrip as longtime supporters of the opera. You can catch Tulsa Opera in our fully staged productions, as well as in engagement activities all over this community. And outside of our productions, we engage with over 55,000 people annually through First Friday performances, community parades, holiday parties, arias and ales at local craft breweries. So just keep an eye out and you'll see opera in many different corners of our community. And I also want to take a moment to just tell you how impactful our Songs by Heart program is. This therapeutic music program in memory care and assisted living facilities is changing lives. We have seen residents who are no longer verbal start singing, "Don't sit under the apple tree with anyone else but me." And the cameras come out as the nurse is capturing that video to send to families. Because people are returning to joy and music and social connection through this amazing program. And our education program has a very exciting production coming up, because this is the last production of the season you can get tickets to. We're performing in smaller, intimate venues right now, and we are selling out. But you could still get tickets to Bibbidi Bobbidi Broadway, where our Tulsa Youth Opera are going to take the stage in an amazing educational experience for them and entertaining experience for us with Broadway's Jen Gambatese. Jen Gambatese has been in Tarzan and School of Rock on Broadway. She was in the first national tour of Wicked. So she's very talented, and so are our youth opera singers. So we hope you'll join us for that. Thank you so much. It was great to be here.
Very good. Danny, Lydia, and all of our friends from the Tulsa Opera, thank you for being here today. We appreciate you. And Baylin, thank you for being here. You coming back, taking time to come back and share with us your experiences, that reminds us all of how important our youth exchange program really is. So thanks to all in this room who have supported it and will continue to support it in the future. Appropriately titled Opera's World will be our book that we donate to Celia Clinton this week. There you go. And I'm going to ask any and all of you from the opera if you would sign that book before you leave today. I'll bring it down. Upcoming programs include April 24th, Dr. Rodney Hanley, the president of Northeastern State University. And on May 1st are Above and Beyond Awards. And as I told you last week, there's some extra special stuff this year at the awards, so you absolutely want to bring a friend and be here. Also, upcoming events, April 23rd, next Tuesday, we're going to the Tulsa Drillers baseball game with our Rotarian friends that are coming in from Chile. So if you haven't gotten your tickets, they're available on DAC-DB, only $10. April 30th is our exchange with the Rotary Club of Oklahoma City. If you want to go with us, we need to know, even if you don't ride the bus, we still have to have a head count. But we encourage you to log into DAC-DB and ride the bus, reserve your spot on the bus with us, because it's a fun day to spend with Rotarians. And now, I think he's in the back of the room. We're going to ask him to sprint up here so we can get y'all out on time. It's Sarge time. Sarge Elvis Brian Jackson.
Give us a room with a view of the beautiful Rhine. Give us a room with a view of the beautiful Rhine.
Yeah, I tell you, naughty Rotarians, the phone went off, unruly crowd. I know, may I have the clicker? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, here we go, Rotarians. Let's go up. Oh, let's play Lucky Ace of Spades. Now, we at the Rotary Club of Tulsa, we have a jumbo deck of cards. We have the biggest deck of them all. That's right. Out of all the Rotary clubs, look at this. Oh my goodness. So are we ready? Last week, 118 in the pot. This week, the total is $245. So give it up for you, Rotarians. All right. Woo! All right, here we go. Now, Barney picked this one last week. No, that's not the Ace of Spades. All right. Here we go. We ready? Get your winning Rotary Club of Tulsa red ticket out. Last three numbers, 270. 270. Come on up. Sprint up this way. Did they leave? I'll give you 1, 2. Oh, is that you?
Jerry.
All right, come on up.
Yay.
Let me shuffle them real quick. All right, here we go. Just like this club, we got a couple of jokers. That's
Yeah.
right.
I thought that was an appropriate card.
All right. Let's keep going. We got some cool slides here. All right. So next, happy 82nd birthday, Rotarian Scott Philstrip. Happy birthday, Scott. Oh my goodness, look at this. A $4,680 gift. Let's hear it for Scott, Rotarian Scott. Oh. Now, this will be divided for Camp Enterprise, which is awesome. Crescendo, another great program on the Tulsa Rotary Club, and Songs by Heart. Let's give it up for them one more time. Thank you so very much. Wow. Now, that is Rotarian generosity. Next up, speaking of generosity, it's time, the cue. It's time, fill the buckets. The Rotary Club of Tulsa Foundation buckets. Make sure to drop in a few dollars. Oh, there it is. There, I love that. That is fun. All right, we are on our way, everyone. On our way. And then don't forget, for next week, there's still time. Send me pictures of your pets, of your wives, of your spouses. Hey, it'll be fun, all right? So there we go. Did that sound right? I don't know.
Keep it clean.
Boy. I told you there's some jokers in this club. All right. You all have a good one. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm happy to know that we all live by the four-way test, so all those pictures will be appropriate. Special thanks to our gold sponsors, We Be Trees, Tim Nall, Max Electric Supply, Jack McGlumphy, Coldwell Banker Select, Sheree Gardner, Ken McConnell, CPA, and OK Ethics, Mary Lytle. And to this week's silver sponsors, Associated Mortgage Corporation, Chuck Wilson, Bank First, Paul Baumann and Bill Miller, Clear Ridge LLC, Matthew Bristow. And to this week's bronze sponsors, Argent Trust Oklahoma, Harvey Rowe and Kenny Brown, Claude Neon Federal Symes, James Adair, Gebel Gottwalls, Jeff Hassel, Paul Rossler, and Adam Doverspike, Yale Cleaners, John and Bill Rothrock. Today's committee meetings include Programs Committee in 231 and the Above and Beyond Awards Committee in 232. As we wrap up today, we will be showing a wonderful video of Balin's Youth Exchange Year. So as soon as I ring the bell, that's going to start playing. We invite you to stay and watch that video. Thank you for joining our meeting today. Go and create hope in the world through service above self. We are adjourned.
Everybody loves the things you do, from the way you talk to the way you move. Everybody here is watching you, 'cause you feel like home. You're like a dream come true. But if by chance you're here alone, can I have a moment before I go? 'Cause I've been by myself all night long, hoping you're someone I used to know. You look like a movie, you sound like a song. My God, this reminds me of when we were young. Let me photograph you in this light, in case it is the last time that we might be exactly like we were before we realized we were scared of getting old and made us restless. It was just like a movie, it was just like a song. I was so scared to face my fears. Nobody told me that you'd be here. And I swear you moved overseas. That's what you said when you left me. You still look like a movie, you still sound like a song. My God, this reminds me of when we were young. Let me photograph you in this light, in case it is the last time that we might be exactly like we were before we realized we were sad of getting old and made us restless. It was just like a movie, it was just like a song. When we were young, when we were young, when we were young, when we were young. It's hard to admit that everything just takes me back to when you were there, to when you were there. And a part of me keeps holding on, just in case it hasn't gone, 'cause I still care. Do you still care? It was just like a movie, it was just like a song. My God, this reminds me of when we were young. When we were young, when we were young, when we were young, when we were young. Let me photograph you in this light, in case it is the last just like a song.